Hey artists, I'm going to show you how to assemble an agamograph, and I'm going to work with my printed directions to keep me on track. So you always have access to the written out version of what I'm saying as well. So first step is to finish both of your small artworks. They're 7 inches by 9 inches, and you need a 7-inch by 18-inch background paper. So here are my two artworks, both finished. Here is my background paper. Notice that if they are put on there side by side, they will both fit exactly as they are supposed to. So now on the back of each artwork, I need to measure across the top and the bottom on the long sides. So I have my ruler here. I'm going to line it up so that the 0 of the inch side, not the centimeters, is on one side of the paper, and I'm going to make a nice long mark at every inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now I need the same set of marks at the bottom because you never want to try to draw a straight line from one set of measurements. So I'm going to move it down, make sure 0 is on the same edge, and mark at the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7. No fractions. It's not complicated. Now I can turn my paper, or my ruler, excuse me, line up the marks on the same side of the ruler, hold it steady with one hand, draw a nice straight line right across the side. I'm going to repeat that for all of my marks. What I don't do is doubt that my mark is correct and move my line and make a line that does not go across my measurement mark. If you do that, your line will not be correct. So your eyes cannot measure as accurately as a ruler can. Trust that you made your marks correctly in the first place. And if you don't, ask somebody to check them for you. So now that my marks are complete, I need to repeat that on my other artwork. And the magic of camera editing, it's done. So then step 3 on my written directions tells me to label the backs of each artwork. So A1, A2, A3, blah, 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 blah on one, and B1, 2, 3, blah, 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 blah on the other. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right. My A's and my B's, 1 through 9. Step 4, on the background paper, measure across the top and the bottom, the long sides, mark every inch. So since my background paper is enormous, I do have a little bit of extra that I have to do here. So I'm going to put 0 on the edge of the paper like I always do before I mark. Somewhere near the top, I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3, just like I did on my background papers. That's how you know when you cut it, they're going to match up because they're the same sizes. However, my ruler is 12 inches long and my paper is 18 inches. So assuming that my 12 inches is exactly 12 inches from that side, I can just realign that with my 0 and continue again. It is possible that the paper is not perfect. So I'm looking at mine and it appears to be 18 and 1/8 of an inch. If that's the case, that's why it's really important that you have your 0 starting on the same side. And I need to make my marks across the bottom of this page. And if it really bothers you or you think it's going to be a problem and you consistently have the same amount extra, you can trim your paper. And now I'm going to realign and continue every inch. And then what I will do is this same exact process that I did on the backs of my other papers. I'm going to line these marks up on the same side of my ruler. I'm going to hold my ruler steady and draw a perfectly straight line through both marks. If my line does not make it through the marks, then it is not actually an inch from the previous line. And I'm going to continue all the way across this whole page until it looks like this one. So you can see every single inch. And label the background in reverse. A9, B9, A8, B8, and so on. So that means starting at the left-hand side, A9, B9, A8, B8, and so on until I get to the end. Now, is it very important? Stop, have the teacher check your work. What I do when I check your work is I compare these lines to these lines. If they all match up when you line them up like this, that means they're all the same. See how those lines continue right across from one paper to the other? And then the other thing that I will do when I check is that you numbered one in reverse. So starting at 9s on the left here, but starting at 1s on here. That's important because you're looking at the back of this paper, but the front of this paper. So this will get flipped. B9 here needs to end up over here. Now, you'll cut the background into strips along the lines. So I need to get my scissors and I need to start cutting. All right, so cutting is complete. I am finishing up step 5. Do not cut the background. Very important. You need this gigantic big paper. Step 6, glue the artwork into the appropriate place on the background using the letters as a guide. So I have my piles here kind of left in order from the way that I cut them with A1 and B1 on top. So I'm going to start on the right side. And it's very important that you get a lot of glue so things don't fall off later. So I'm going to go ahead and flip those and glue them where they are supposed to go, all the way across this whole thing, making sure that each one matches. And there should not be a lot of overlap or gap between them as you go. All right, so now I have finished. You can see my whole artwork, 2 things spliced together. Step 7 is to accordion fold the background. So sometimes it's easier to do this once you've glued because the paper is going to have an easy time splitting and folding where there is not 2 layers. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to zigzag fold it, making sure that I am stronger than the paper and I make it fold where I want it to fold. So I'm going to work my way across the whole thing. It should be easier than our practice because that was a very tiny paper. What is going to be more challenging is that this is a thicker paper and not a thin sheet of copy paper. So you're going to have to use your muscles to make it fold, or you can sometimes use a tool to help you press the crease down really well. So like my glue stick, for example, if I get a crease that I'm struggling to make sharp, I can run my glue stick like this across it, pressing it down really hard so that I get a nice sharp crease. And I'm going to work my way all across this entire thing. All right, I feel this got a little bit crooked. You can see my packet doesn't seem quite even, but hopefully once I have it out, there's my zigzag. So you can see if we angle things to one side, there's picture number 1. We angle to the other, there's picture number 2. And now I'm going to mount it on the backing to keep it like this. So I don't want it to be able to go like this or this. I want it to be nice and even. So that's what the mounting is. All right, so we've reached the last step. Step 8, make tabs on the background paper, and 9, attach the accordion folded agamograph to the stiff background paper using the tabs. So I have this piece of chipboard. This is my background. I have these pieces of long skinny paper. They're going to be my tabs. I'm going to fold them in half, all 3 of them. So I need a left side, a right side, and somewhere in the center to hold it. So once I've got all 3 of these folded, hot dog the long way. They need to get attached to either the background first or the back of the agamograph. Sometimes it's easier to do the back of the agamograph. So here I am on the back. These tabs are going to basically like complete the triangle. So if you see how at the end they'll make a triangle, they need a flat space for this thing because right now the back of it is like ridges. And sometimes liquid glue is better for this because it's stronger. So I'm going to go ahead and liquid glue the back of one of these tabs lightly, not a lot, to one side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then I got to just pick a middle space. And it doesn't matter what middle space you pick. You just have to do it and have something in the middle kind of holding it. So make an educated guess about whereabouts the middle is. That looks middle-ish to me. And now I'm going to put glue on the other part of each of these tabs. And I'm going to flip the whole thing and align it as evenly as I can on my background. So 3 tabs with glue on them. Flip. Line it up. So I want the left side on the left, the right side exactly on the right, and then the middle can fall kind of wherever it feels like a natural choice. But you see, evenly aligned. And since I use liquid glue, I have to wait longer for it to dry, but it should be stronger. If you use a glue stick, you won't have to wait as long, but it may not hold as well. So that's the trade-off. So I'm just going to stick this down, and I have completed my Agamograph from start to finish.